this is the craziest question I got asked by the agent. This question gave me more goosebumps than the GPT-4. So admin showed me something crazy today, and I want to show this to the world. I don't think I felt any like AGI moment after the GPT-4 release. That was 2 years ago. And what this thing you built is literally giving the same shock effect I had with the GPT-4 release. So I want that as many people as possible to know this thing exists. I feel like this is gonna be huge for all the founders out there who is constantly under the water and being overwhelmed by all the things moving around. I think we actually built the first fucking chief of staff plus executive assistant. This is 24 hours online, all with the cloud code and just a cloud code subscription.
Let me take you through it. I do think this thing is pretty cool. So every morning on Slack, my agent sends me my daily brief. And this is all the context of what I need to do as a founder each day. This is some of the stuff that I think is particularly interesting. It's looking through all newsletters I subscribe to and then making actual high taste synthesis between this context and what we do as a company.
I mean, how many newsletters do you subscribe right now?
I'd say it's gone up about 10x since I started building it. Because interestingly, now I don't have to read all of them. What I care about is the cross-pollination of context. What's something that's interesting in one newsletter that overlaps with something in another that then is related to something we're actually doing that we care about. So far, so standard, right? You would expect an agent to be able to read newsletters and synthesize them.
But being able to combine the newsletters with the company's context and give you correlated suggestions, I think that's something. I mean, if you're just using the cloud or like superhuman or any the email assistant thing without any context about yourself or about the company, then it's basically a summarizer. But your agent already is able to take the events happening in the world and all of the newsletters and actually pick out the relevant signals and flag to you. I think that's why you're able to subscribe to 10 times more newsletters, because you don't need to manually curate them through them to find the signals. The agent will be able to find signals and flag them to you.
It's the scaffolding. It's the way that the agent stores context and the way it reasons over it that allows it to do this well. And the same is true of a competitor Intel. This is super cool. It's gone to look at open jobs at a competitor on Glassdoor to figure out and infer what their strategy might be. I didn't tell it to do that. We have a database of competitors in Notion, and it reasons over them and goes and does web search over them. But it has very broad latitude to do stuff itself. And so I think the key themes here, why this works really well, is we're using a store of context Notion that is both human legible and agent legible. It isn't all just jammed into markdown files. And the agent has really wide parameters what it's allowed to do. Same for bug reports. I haven't written any of these. The agent is reasoning through my granola notes from my onboardings and calls with customers and just generating them. And these are actually being actioned. These are already being put into a Slack channel, and your agent is reading them and putting them in the back.
This one is especially interesting because now your agent is getting all of the bug reports from the client's onboarding calls or the conversation with the client, automatically generating the bug reports, posting the bug channel on Slack, and my agent now picks them up, then it runs through my pipeline, create actually a bug ticket in Notion into the bug tracker database, and then the other agent can just pick the bugs up and then just create a PR to fix those bugs. So it's from the customer conversation all the way to bug fix. Everything's automated. I only need to do the code reviews.
The interesting thing here is there's parts of the pipeline that still have human legibility. We are not going straight from granola into the PR. We are putting it in a Slack channel where any human in the company can weigh in and start talking and debating in thread about whether that actually is a bug. And similarly, I get this in my daily brief. So it's an automated pipeline with human visibility into certain gates in the pipeline. But we're not humans in the loop. It can do it itself, but we can weigh in as and when it's necessary.
What's your setup?
Setup here is that it goes and gets context from granola, which is all my calls, from emails, now from Slack as well. It needs structure of what to do with that context.
Right.
So the V1 that we used to have was just markdown, but there's no information hierarchy. It's too flat. I want an assistant that can be proactive and high taste, And so I took the OpenClaw repo and just pasted it into Claude. And how does OpenClaw handle state and memory? And what do you think is deficient about it? And what was apparent to me was a two-tier system that's just about timed isn't enough, because there's stuff that's super important but infrequent that actually needs some top-down information hierarchy. And that's what I've actually created. But you can't just have that in Markdown. You need it in a store of record that is also human legible, that has some structure, basically a database. And so something like Obsidian or Notion is a really, really good place to create context. So the scaffolding for this agent is raw context in from an email or a call transcript, it being reasoned over, and then appended into ongoing context in Notion. And so I have different databases for different levels of hierarchy of information, the highest of which is themes. These are ongoing things that we talk about a lot. I don't manually create them. I didn't go in and hard code themes in Notion. I let the agent derive them from the context.
Can you show us an example? I think that's
Yeah.
super cool, because I think a lot of people, including myself, when we're building the agent for myself, the biggest challenge is how do I organize all the information? I connect my cloud code to all of my stuff, Gmail, Calendar, Notion, Slack, but then the agent get confused because it doesn't know where to pull the relevant context. So I have to constantly manually feed it the context and then manually check the markdown files it generates. It's very tedious. And as soon as you stop giving the context to your agent, it start losing the touch of the reality and start hallucinating and stop being valid. What you did here, the most impressive thing is it's a automated system that constantly gathers the context and put it into the right hierarchies and keep learning on its own without much human input. You just live your day, just doing your things, sending emails, attending calls, and then all of the core decisions, the things are distilled and put into the right place, and then the agent will be able to go back and reference them. I will literally pay for this.
It's because I'm drowning. There's too much context coming in constantly, and we need a log of what we care about and a log of what's going on.
And I think that's why I want to record this session, because I think all the founders out there are having the same problem. So we're just sharing this system with the world. And Adam here is the expert.
And also, I'm obsessed with talking to founders about stuff like this. We want people to come and chat to us and figure out how we're going to actually implement this for folks, if you're curious. These themes are emergent. Again, I didn't go hard code these. Here we go. This is great. So this is inside baseball about us. We're thinking about headhunting versus inbound applicants. We build an AI recruiter. Obviously, this is something we think about a lot. When a theme is generated, the agent will create a call out of its synthesis. And then every time when it takes new context and sees something that relates to a theme, it appends that new bit of context and then reruns the synthesis given that new context. And so this call out is a constantly dynamically updating piece of context about what's actually going on. All of these then end up generating more and more ideas and our latest thoughts and insights onto a given theme. And the agent actually has full latitude to enrich this database in both axes. It can create new themes, but it can also create new properties. And this is actually, I think, one of the really valuable things that I gave it the ability to do, which is every single Notion database I created for it, I just created blank. All it has was created date. And it has the ability to, if it needs to create some taxonomy, create a status, all of it just does on the fly. And then when it creates a new property, it runs through the other records in that database and appends that property to it. And so it's in a constantly evolving set of properties that give it its own information of its own design.
And I think that's the core learning. Give the agents maximum freedom to explore and do things and reflect. Is the key. The more guardrails you put on the agent, the less useful it is, because you're basically putting the constraint on it, and instead of letting it just explore and coming up with its own structure, which is extremely powerful.
And so themes then, one layer down from themes is decisions. So these are specific things that have been decided. Crucially, I actually built this initially because I wanted the agent to have a record of its own decisions, because I realized if everything is just in a flat project in Markdown, there's no versioning. So it doesn't know what's been decided and what's been overwritten. But then I very quickly realized that it needed to capture our decisions as well. And so you can see here, again, this was flat. It's created all these taxonomies of relationships between decisions and themes, sources, what category it was. And we have to make some meaty decisions as a company. We're doing a recruitment. And so in this case is customers ask us, can your agent only search for female engineers? This is something that requires debate and taste and actual EQ to think about. And now we actually have a record of it, but we would never sit down and document this.
Right.
We would just make an on-the-fly decision, maybe have a thread about it on Slack,
Right.
and then it would be ephemeral and it would just be gone. But now, because the agent's reasoning over the calls we have granola on in every single call that we do internally, all of this creates this strong time series data of our opinions and views on something at a snapshot in time, which allows for the evolution of ideas and a record of it that creates maximal context, both for humans and for agents. Right. I think that's one of the core design principles here. This is in Notion because it's human legible. Any new person who joins the company or new agent who joins the company has this to very quickly ingest and get up to speed.
Right. So this is our source of truth, or this is actually our agent to human protocol, human to agent layer to share the context. And I think that this decision table is extremely relevant to all of our audiences. Startup founder, especially at the early stages, we're making millions, I mean, tons of decisions every single day, every single moment. Give the agent the full authority to record all the decisions, either from all the sources, either it's from a meeting recording or from the email or from just carry conversation. That will give you basically a gate history of the company.
That's ultimately what we want, is context, because as a startup, your ability to make decisions quickly is a function of how easy it is to learn from them. One of our values is decision frequency is better than decision quality. And being able to quickly decide and move on and know that the context is just going to get captured and you can revisit it. Almost every single decision you make as a startup is reversible. And so the ability to reason over past decisions, the agent itself produces this reasoning in the conversations between us and the agent. And then any actions it takes are stored as decisions in the database.
Defining the clear architecture or the hierarchy of the information and teach the agent how to funnel the different piece of context into different layers is the key. I think that's something not a lot of people have actually figured out yet. I don't think we have fully figured out it as well, but I think we are getting very close. We're getting close to somewhere.
And I think there's two interesting axes here, which is give the agent complete latitude for actions, but apply rigor to the information hierarchy and generate the categories of information yourself. So properties on individual decisions, agent does what the hell it likes. But the hierarchy of themes, decisions, and then these roll up into ideas and then actual tickets and stuff that gets shipped. That's us trying to figure out a stateful way of storing context to create scaffolding for the agent to make high-taste decisions. This can literally just generate this set of decisions in conversations that only we would ever be in, that only me and my agent would ever be in. That's then the next tier of this, which we've just started playing around with, which is, okay, the agent has the fire hose of context. Yes, it goes through my email, Slack, etc. Okay, that's the base level. Then it can append that information in a highly contextual way so that it can pull from it as it makes decisions. That's how it can create that good daily brief, because it has the themes and the decisions and the ideas. How can we then use it to generate new ideas? And I created this skill called Reflect that takes all of the context that's been appended recently, reasons over it in light of all the context it has about me and the company, and then asks me just a single clarifying question that it thinks is the most important thing I should be thinking about that day. And we ran this for real yesterday. First time I showed this.
I mean, that was the goosebump moment. That was the AGI moment.
Should we show them what it asked you?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But this was the output just in the command line of yesterday when we tried this. We left it running during our stand-up. And by the end of the stand-up, the agent asked us, what percentage of Lee's current engineering time is actually building the taste layer versus the plumbing around it?
Such a good question. I was still reflecting on this question today. It's such a high taste question that I don't know if anyone in the company at that current stage will have the context and experience to ask this question. This is a question that probably those big corporations are paying like 100K or whatever amount of consulting fees.
But also, no consultant, no soup from McKinsey is going to have the context to ask that
Exactly.
question. The people who have the context don't have the time. I'm not going to sit there and stand up and start stroking my imaginary beard and going, but what percentage is spent on the taste layer versus the plumbing? Right? It's going to be like, ship. Let's ship this for this onboarding now in 10 minutes.
There's a million things every day. There's a million fires.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. Well, you will come up during the Sunday night, locking yourself into a room and force you to meditate for a couple minutes and just clear our mind. And then this is something you probably come up. But now the agent can do it doing the one while we are handling the day-to-day operations in the stand-up.
No meditation needed, no ayahuasca. Don't need to go to Burning Man. Just run a fucking command in the terminal.
Yep. Oh, dude, this is gonna replace the Burning Man. But Burning Man is dead.
And it's the context, it's the scaffolding. It can now actually, again, this is an emergent property of thinking hard about information hierarchy and entrusting the agent to figure out the rest.
So whoever is listening to this, go explore it. This is the craziest question I got asked by the agent. This question give me more goosebumps than the GPT-4. Oh, I can talk to an AI chatbot now. Versus, oh fuck, I can run the company now.
And so if we're going to give people 3 tactical bits of advice to go away and try and set something like this up themselves, what would that be?
2 things. 1, give the agent the freedom to create and explore. Don't put too much constraint on it. And 2, define your own information hierarchy.
And I would say, you don't have to use Notion. You use Obsidian, use whatever you want. You could use Superbase, really. But ultimately, what you need is something that has a table-like structure with the ability to create arbitrary properties on it.
Let your agent create their own skills.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's better at writing skills than we are. Don't design skills. Workshop the job to be done of what the skill will solve. And then let it suggest elegant ways to wrap combinations of the skills up into commands.
This also lead me to think, how should we design and involve our own agent in the product?
Yes.
I know a lot of AI agent companies out there are building the product with a lot of guardrails, with a lot of the test suites to cover the edge cases to make sure the agent actually behave. But this gives me another perspective. While still keeping all the guardrails in place so that the agent doesn't go wrong, how can we give the agent more freedom to create, to self-involve? It's just fantastic. It's so good.
Yeah.